Want to master the ways of Revenant and become an assassin? Well, today I'm going to tell you guys how to play him and how to play him like a pro. Asifa, this is LaserBolt and welcome to today's video, guys. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new hero in Apex Legends called Revenant, which is one of the most interesting characters due to the fact that there's almost two different ways you could actually play with this character, and that is what makes him stand out of the rest. Now, before we dive into how to play him, I do have a question from you guys. Who do you think is the best character in Season 4? Let me know in the comments section down below. As a friendly reminder, I do want to remind you guys that we stream daily on Twitch. The link is down below in the description. Come by, hang out with us, and enjoy some amazing Apex gameplay, and I will see you guys over there. Revenant is an assassin hero. In my personal opinion, he's a better version of Octane. He has a really amazing passive, and his tactical ability is pretty good, and so is his ultimate ability. But you guys are going to find out exactly how powerful all these abilities are when we drill down and talk about them. Let's take a look at his abilities, and then we'll break down how you want to play, what weapons you should use, and why you should play this certain playstyle. So let's start off with his first ability, which is the passive ability called Stalker. Now, this is out of all the abilities, the one that makes him really, really good, because this ability will allow you to move at high speed while you're crouched. Now, this is actually a pretty good ability due to the fact that this is going to allow you to do certain stuff that other heroes aren't able to do. Now, what makes this ability so good is the fact that it allows you to actually strafe a lot faster than you would than if you were standing up. For those of you who might not know what strafing is, that is when you're moving side to side and shooting your gun at the same time. Usually if you're standing up and you're shooting, you're going to strafe at a certain pace, but with Revenant, you actually strafe a lot faster due to the fact that he has that nice speed boost. In addition to that, guys, it is really awesome that if you are crouch walking, the enemies won't hear you coming, so that means you could technically sneak up on enemies without them hearing your footsteps while you're crouched, and thus having the advantage of moving fast. Now, that is just one particular portion of his passive ability. The next ability allows you to climb buildings pretty fast and higher. This is a really good way because this helps you get into high areas, and as you guys know, in Apex Legends, the high ground is key to actually winning. This is really effective if you actually use these tactics together. For example, you can crouch your way into a building, people won't hear you coming, climb up the building super duper fast, and gain that high ground against the enemy and wipe the entire team down. Since the enemy will be technically looking at a doorway or a particular entry point, they won't expect you coming from up above, and that's going to give you a huge advantage. Now let's take a look at his tactical ability called Silence. This is pretty much a grenade. He's able to throw the grenade and actually even place the grenade, and any team actually gets hit or walks within the radius of the grenade while it's exploding, the enemy won't be able to use their abilities. Now, this does last for 10 seconds, and it has a pretty extensive radius. Now, what makes this ability even more potent is that you're actually able to get characters off their ultimate ability, even if you haven't used it before. So if you see a Wraith coming your way, like for example in this video clip, and you throw it at her as she is going through her portal, it will instantly knock her off her portal, giving you a high advantage as she won't expect you to actually be able to do that. Now, the only downside I see with this ability is that people are able to see it, so if they could avoid it if they wanted to. So you could either throw it at the person directly or place it as a trap, so when they walk out of a storm, they won't be able to use their abilities. Now, the reason why you want to have the enemy silence is because this is going to give you a huge advantage whenever you're pushing someone or whenever you're trying to wait for someone to come out the storm. You don't want them to use their Gibraltar ult, you don't want them to use their Bangalore ult, or you don't want Wraith to actually get away from you. Or if you're going to be pushing someone and you don't want them to slip away, you could use this ability, allowing them to kind of silence them from being able to use any of their abilities. Now let's talk about his ultimate ability called the Death Totem. Now, this is by far one of the most interesting and more dynamic one, because not only is it beneficial for you, but it's also beneficial for your teammates. So if you're ever running with a team, you want to make sure you let them know when you're actually going to drop this, because that's going to benefit you and it's also going to benefit your team. What this ability allows you to do, it's going to allow you to place down a totem very similar to Watson's pylon. You're going to place that on the ground. And now, one tip I want to give you is whenever you place this totem down, make sure you do not place it right in the open. You actually want to place this somewhere where you're going to be safe to return, or where no one is going to be able to see it, and I'll explain why that is so important. Now, when you place down the totem, you're actually going to have to interact with it, and once you interact with it, it's going to be giving you a buff. Now, this buff is not only available for you, but like I said, it's also available for your teammates. If for some reason you push someone and you get killed, you're going to get teleported back to where that totem was placed. Now, the cool thing about this is that it's going to bring you back with 1 HP. Now, you'll be able to definitely pop a med kit or pop some syringes to get your HP back. If your shields were not knocked, you still come back with your shields. The only thing that actually gets affected is your health. The totem is meant to mostly be used offensively, so if you love rushing and if you like to be pushy, the totem is going to be kind of your best friend. What you want to do is place the totem in a hidden, secluded place where you know you won't get killed as soon as you come back. So that's something behind a wall, behind a crate, basically placing it where you think an enemy won't be able to kill you or won't be able to see it. Once it's placed, go ahead and interact with it, get your buff. You'll be able to see your buff right down in the bottom of the screen right there. After you guys go ahead and get your buff, you're going to have enough time to actually go and kill the rest of the enemy, whether you want a third party or if you just want to go ahead and play aggressive. Now, one thing you do want to keep an eye out is make sure you keep an eye and don't go past the boundary, because the totem has a very big radius, but it doesn't cover the entire map. So you want to make sure you don't go past the borders, because if you do go past the borders, the totem was going to go away and you will not have the buff anymore. Now, the buff will last for a total of 30 seconds, but do keep in mind, guys, that when you're engaging, you're not going to be getting damage to your shields. You're only going to be getting damage to your health. So that's why whenever you come back to the totem, you come back with shields, but not health. Now, you do want to keep in mind, guys, that when you go and push, you're only going to be taking damage to your health. So you technically only have 100% health, because your shields are not going to be getting hit when you are within the buff. So you want to make sure that whenever you decide to push, your health is up to par or up to 100%. Now that we understand his abilities, let's talk about what type of character he is and what are the advantages and disadvantages. Now, he is a low-profile character, so that means that his hitbox is smaller and it's harder to aim at him and land shots. Therefore, he's going to take 5% additional damage from all sources. So not only is he going to be a little bit harder to hit, but he's going to take a little bit more damage when he actually gets hit. So try to avoid those precision shots by crouching and moving and strafing back and forth, avoiding you to get actually hit. And since you're going to be moving fast when you're crouched, that's going to give you a very big advantage. So what weapons work well with Revenant? Well, the perfect loadout for Revenant, of course, you're going to want to have a close quarter weapon, because remember, he is an assassin. He is a character that you want to be pushing and rushing with. So you want to get a weapon that's going to allow you to be very aggressive and deal a lot of damage. Me personally, I prefer the R99. I think this is by far one of the best weapons to use at a close range, and it's going to give you a huge advantage. Another weapon I would like to recommend, of course, is the Prowler. Prowler is a very effective weapon, especially if you have the select fire. It's going to give you a ton of damage, especially with the nice little buff that we got. It should be pretty deadly. Another weapon I would want to recommend, of course, is the Peacekeeper. Peacekeeper is definitely going to be your best friend as well. If you like to push, the Peacekeeper is going to allow you to actually do a lot of damage, and it's going to help you to mitigate that low reload time. And if you place your totem and you didn't land your shot, you're always able to come back and then reset the engagement and take them out. So what exactly is the best way to actually play with Revenant? Well, the best way to play with Revenant is you want to make sure you're playing as a team. It's very difficult to play a really good Revenant if you're not playing with a team that has mics. The reason is because he is a tactical character, and he's going to primarily be used to flank enemies, because not only is he silent when he approaches an enemy from the flank, but he's also able to get the high ground advantage on that enemy. In addition to that, guys, he has his ability that's going to allow him to actually get the enemies from being able to use their abilities, allowing your team to push. So basically, the way you want to play with him is you want to go ahead and flank around the enemy. Once you have the flank or the high ground, you want to tell your enemies you're ready to engage. You're going to throw your ability, allowing you to disable them from using any of their abilities, and your team will push while you're taking advantage of either high ground or sneaking up behind them. So now it's time to talk about the pro tips and what's going to make you a better Revenant player. You want to make sure that when you're playing with Revenant, you crouch as much as you possibly can. This is going to help you not only for a lot of options, it's going to help you to avoid sticky situations. It's going to allow you to strafe a lot faster than you would when you're standing up. When you're strafing, you want to make sure you're not aiming down sights, you're just hip firing. That's going to give you a faster movement speed. And you want to make sure that when you're crouching, you sneak up on enemies and avoid getting detected. Tip number 2, use his other ability, which is going to allow you to get high ground. You remember, when you're playing with him, you kind of want to play him as a Pathfinder, where, you know, Pathfinder, when he's running around, he's always looking at places to grapple. Basically, your objective is going to be looking into places where you could climb and get the high ground that other people aren't able to get to. This is going to give you a huge advantage, not only for spotting enemies, but also for taking the control of a specific area and getting that high level advantage. Tip number 3, learn how to use your silence bomb. The silence bomb is going to be the most effective ability, allowing you to actually disrupt a lot of enemies fairly fast. So you want to make sure, if you see a bunch team, like 3 of them together, like in a building, or you see some people running out of a storm and they're bunched together, that is the time when you want to use your silence bomb. You want to make sure you maximize the ability. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but you want to make sure you mitigate as many ultimates as you possibly can. If you could get all the 3 of the enemies, that's going to give you a huge advantage. And when you also use your ability, you want to make sure you target a specific character or a specific person to make sure you wipe them out fairly quickly, because you only have 10 seconds to actually do it. So you want to make sure you at least get one person down. Tip number 4 is learn how to place the totem. Hide the totem as much as you can, and never use it inside a storm, because if you do, the storm will insta-kill you, because remember, you're only going to be returning with 1 health. When placing down the totem, make sure you let your teammates know so they can also get a part of the ability and become immune. And make sure that whenever you place the totem, you do not place it in an open area. Tip number 5, remember, you cannot heal or use shields after using the totem, so keep a constant eye of when your ability is active, because you won't be able to use this when your ability is active. So make sure you're constantly looking down to see when that ability is still up or when it's expired. Tip number 7, make sure you guys are using the optimal loadout that I mentioned. The reason why you want to use this loadout is because you want to make sure your weapons that you're using are going to give you a huge advantage when you flank or when you push. Remember the loadout I mentioned, that is what you want to go with. You will definitely want to combine this with a short range weapon and a mid range, or a short weapon and a long range weapon. Another tip, guys, that you want to use, make sure you guys learn how to use your tactical bomb, not only offensively but defensively. I did mention a couple offensive tactics that you could use with the tactical bomb, but if for some reason you're ever in a sticky situation, or you need to pop a shield and there is only 1 door that the enemy could go by, that is where you want to throw your tactical bomb. It's going to disrupt them. It's going to take away their abilities. It's going to hit them for that 10%. They're going to have to push back and avoid that entranceway while you're popping the shields. So use it defensively and offensively as well. And there you guys have it. That is my Revenant guides. I do hope you guys did enjoy this guide, and it does help you become a better Revenant player. If there's any other tips or other suggestions you might want to give for Revenant players, leave it in the comment section down below. It's awesome whenever we go ahead and help as a community. So make sure you guys let everybody know what your tips are when playing Revenant. If you ever want to watch some cool Revenant gameplay, make sure you check us out on stream. We stream daily. I'll leave my Twitch link down below. And of course, like always, I will see you there. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next video.